All right, Bears fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears. Later on today's episode, we'll talk about the cuts that the Chicago Bears have made so far, getting into that 53-man roster. They've made 3 so far, nothing major, but we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Keyshawn Johnson kind of changing his wording, so say, when it comes to the Chicago Bears. We'll also get into the Bears having more players listed on the top 100 than the Packers. Petty Roosevelt a little bit may come out in that one. And then has Dante Pettis done enough to secure a spot on the final roster? We'll get into all that and more on today's Chicago Bears Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans. So as you guys know, me and the boys here, the Cognac Boys, we have been fighting against the narrative of the national media idiots. Now, this is not something I want to spend a lot of time on. I am gonna be a little bit petty, not full Petty Roosevelt with this one. I am gonna be a little bit petty. So Keyshawn Johnson actually talked about Justin Fields, and as we've been monitoring to see how the national media conversation kind of changes around the Chicago Bears after the way that the offense played in that first half on Saturday, you know, we did get this from Keyshawn Johnson.
Offensive line going into the regular season would be better than Tom Brady's offensive line. The difference is Justin Fields will be able to outrun that and make those kind of plays with his feet early on because he's going to have to. And they've done a really good job so far in the preseason structuring what he can do right and what he can't do and minimize that. And if he plays like this, and if he plays, Key, if you believe, and a lot of people may be in your corner, that if he plays to that kind of level, you have to wonder how much of that R-word regret may go around, not only with potentially San Francisco, Trey Lance doesn't work out with the 49ers, but definitely the New York Jets at number 2 taking Zach Wilson over Justin Fields.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not putting him in a Hall of Fame, right?
No,
so
I know.
we're going to slow that down. I don't necessarily know that any of these teams would regret what they selected, where they selected it at right now. I just know what I look at, and I'm looking at the film, and I'm watching Justin Fields out on the field. He's making all the right reads. He's doing all the right things that you would anticipate a quarterback that is a professional be able to do. You know what he has that I just picked up on?
What's that?
And I was kind of just looking at it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little Patrick Mahomes in him.
They're similar. They're built similar.
No,
I mean,
I'm just talking
Fields
about.
a little thicker, but they're
I'm just
similar.
talking about his ability to move around,
Make
throw the
plays.
football.
Right.
I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, who the hell does look like that? And it just dawned on me when he went to the whirlied out here, right here on this play. Bam! He's out. Now look at this. Eyes down the field. He throws the ball to his left to the sideline. That's Patrick Mahomes.
Now, I will say this. Keyshawn, even when he did throw some shade towards the Chicago Bears, it was more so towards the weapons and the protection that they have around Justin Fields, not necessarily Justin Fields himself. But now hearing Keyshawn Johnson going on to even make Patrick Mahomes comparisons to Justin Fields, it made me feel good a little bit. And not that I care. The national media doesn't mean it. That we know ESPN is a bunch of national media idiots. They follow trends. They pick their narratives. They keep it going. But the fact of the matter is that Justin Fields did look good. When he has time, Justin Fields has always looked good. And even so, Keyshawn saying this lets me know that Keyshawn, with all that talk he was talking about, has rarely watched the Chicago Bears play. Because guess what? When Justin Fields has had time, he's always been an effective quarterback. The issue was a big part last season, and why the concern was so big here is that he's been running for his life, being in and out of the lineup, things like that. So, listen, I'm glad that people are noticing, but Justin Fields is going to make a lot of people notice before the end of this season's up. It doesn't matter if they want to. It doesn't matter if they want to admit it. There's going to be a lot of Bears that make the national media eat their words a little bit, and I'm glad for one to see that start with what happened today on that show. So again, that's just me being a little bit petty. It kind of is what it is. You guys know I have a little pettiness in me from time to time, but let's go ahead and move on. So the Chicago Bears, by 3 p.m. tomorrow, that's Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, have to get down to a 53-man roster from 80. They've already made 3 cuts. A couple of these players were players that I did expect to be done in the last cuts, but they were cut here. Kevin Shaw, out of there. He was cut. Center Corey Dublin, cut. He's out of there. Safety John Alexander as well, cut. Out of there. And then they cut another undrafted offensive tackle on Sunday who Gene Delance Non-football illness was the designation, but cut as well. So the Bears are now making their way towards that 53-man roster. Be on the lookout. You're going to get continued updates and things like that from that, and we'll see who ends up making it. Some of the bigger questions like Vador, is he going to make it? Things like that. We'll see and talk about that once that decision is made. So be on the lookout tomorrow. I'll probably for sure drop an episode before the deadline, the normal daily episode, and then I'm even trying to get all the boys in tomorrow so we can talk about all the cuts later on in the evening tomorrow, so we can break down everything and everyone who did not make the cut on the Chicago Bears final 53-man roster by tomorrow. So that's where I stand on that. Let me know if there are any surprises in those 3 players that have been cut so far. Let me know. All right, now moving on. More pettiness. The Bears have more players listed in the NFL top 100 than the Packers. Now, they do have Aaron Rodgers there and Devondre Campbell for sure, but we got Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn, and David Montgomery listed there. This is a big thing? No, but it is something that I'm going to point out because I hate those cheeseheads. I hate them. I hate Aaron Rodgers. I hate the Packers. This is something that is generational. My son's going to hate the Packers. His son's going to hate the Packers. It doesn't matter. They're Packers. So we don't care about those cheesehead people. We just don't. So, yeah, I'm glad to see a little bit pettiness. And for all the doubt that's thrown, listen, if this Bears team comes together, if that first half of the offense that we saw from the starters, if that can become a thing, if that can become something that we see more games than not, this division is not it's not completely out of the question. Now, we do need to see it, right? I'm not gonna get too carried away with one half of preseason football. We know that the defense is gonna be legit. I've been very vocal on the fact that this defense, if it can be top 10, the sky's the limit for the Chicago Bears, especially as the offense comes along and gets more in rhythm. But what we saw, that glimpse that we saw from the offense in the half, has left a lot to be, fathom it over. Like it's just an exciting time to be a Bears fan. And as we march towards the regular season, I cannot wait. I can't wait to see how this Bears team performs in a live game, in a full game from start to finish, all 4 quarters. I can't wait to see how our team steps up. So before I go today, I do want to talk about a player here, and that's Dante Pettis. Me and the guys have talked about Dante Pettis a lot, wondering if he's going to make it. It's especially considered he's been hurt, especially considered that this team is going to have to make some difficult decisions. And with his injury and, not his injury, but with him taking advantage of injuries, right? And his strong play, he's played very well. 3 receptions, 37 yards, and a 12-yard touchdown on Sunday's game against the Cleveland Browns. I think Pettis has done enough to make this roster. Now, what does that mean for the wide receiver core? N'Keal Harry's still hurt. We don't know what the heck's going on with Byron Pringle. We don't know how often Velus Jones is going to be used in the offense either. There's a lot of questions with this. You want as many weapons as you can. I think him and Tajae Sharpe both make the final roster. I'm not going to say that that's going to be a for sure thing, right? I'm not willing to bet on that for 110%, but I think him and Tajae Sharpe both have a chance to make this roster, and I think they both flashed enough in this to where if they do, they're going to be used, especially while we have other injuries as well. And I like Pettis. I like Pettis a lot. Do I think with an improved wide receiver core, would he make the roster? No. But luckily, we have enough, or we're at a place on this roster where we're still trying to figure enough things out. So I think he's going to make the final roster. But let me know down below, do you think Dante Pettis has a chance to make the final roster? If not, who do you think does? Who do you think doesn't? Let me know all that down below as you get ready for the Bears to make several more cuts. But that is it for today's daily episode of Chicago Bears Central. Make sure you follow us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, and like I like to end every episode on, bear down. We out, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.